Hello students, today we'll be talking about staffing process. Now in staffing process, when we say process, we have earlier also learned that process is something which involves series of steps. And when we say staffing process, that means in an organization when there is need to fill the vacant positions with competent and capable people, there is need for finding out such competent and capable people and then using them and developing them in the organization. And that is why we see that in the process of staffing, there are different steps involved which helps in, you may say, obtaining, utilizing, and maintaining proper workforce in the organization. So let us start. So, staffing process, you see, the first step which is involved in the process of staffing is estimating the manpower requirements. Now we all know that human resources, they have to be efficiently utilized. Organization should always be in a position to have adequate number of people, and those people should be quality people. That means qualified people as per the requirement of the job. Neither there should be excess nor there should be shortage of manpower, because if there will be excess of manpower, there will always be wastage of human resources, and if there is shortage of manpower, the work will not be carried out properly towards the achievement of the organizational goal. That is why there is need to properly estimate the manpower requirement, and this estimation of manpower requirement, it involves two aspects. First is very important, how many persons are required in the organization to do a particular job. There may be different types of jobs which may be carried out in the organization, and for a particular job, how many persons are required, that has to be estimated. Not only how many, but also what types. How many means the number, that means the quantity, and also the quality. It is not that anyone can be appointed to any position in the organization. Certainly the quality matters, because if the goal is fixed, in order to achieve that goal within a particular time frame, there is need for certain type of workforce which can work towards the achievement of that goal. That is why how many and what types of persons are required, that has to be properly estimated. And for this, always we see that job analysis is done, because unless and until job analysis is done, it would be difficult to find out what are the various types of jobs which will be required and what kind of people will be required to fulfill those positions. So, when we say job analysis is done, job analysis has two components. How is job analysis done? One is job description and another is job specification. When we say job description, that means it describes the job. It describes the nature of the job. It describes the roles, the responsibilities, titles, the wages, salaries, working conditions associated with the job. That is what is job description. And when we say job specification, it specifies what all qualification, experience, age that is required for a particular job. So once job analysis is done properly, we see that it becomes easy to estimate the number and the type of people which is required to undertake a particular job. Furthermore, what we see is that after this, there is also need to have workload and workforce analysis in this for estimating manpower requirements. Workload means the number and types of persons essential. Number and type of persons essential to do a particular job. And workforce means the number and types of persons already available in the organization. So, the requirement of the job always will be, job requirement will be essential minus available. Essential minus available will be required. For a particular job, if 5 employees, for example, I am giving you, in an organization, to do a particular job, there are 5 people who are required. And already 3 people are existing in the organization, that is available. So the requirement will be of only 2. 5 minus 3, that is 2. So neither there should be 3 people further who should be appointed, nor there should be 1. If there is requirement of 2, it should always be seen that the quota of 5 should be fulfilled in order to see that the job is done properly. If this is estimated properly, then the organization certainly helps to reach to a position that neither there is understaffing nor there is overstaffing, but the organization is optimally staffed. So what we see is that always manpower requirements, when we talk about the first step of estimating the manpower requirements, again I am repeating very briefly. First of all, it has to be estimated how many and what kind of people are required for different nature of job in the organization. For this, job analysis is done, which includes job description and job specifications. Job description describes the nature of the job. We have seen the roles, responsibilities, salary, wages, working conditions associated with the job, whereas the job specification, it helps to understand the qualification, experience, that means traits and qualities which is required in order to do a job. Also includes the age, because we see that age factor is also taken into consideration. After this is done, there is need to also estimate workload and workforce analysis. When we say workload, that means number and types of persons essential to do a particular job. Workforce means the number and types which are already available. So we have to always see that out of how many are available in the organization and how many are required, we have to subtract and then appoint the remaining, you may say, persons who are needed for a particular job, so that the job can be carried out properly. And if this is done, that means the first step in the staffing process is complete and the organization will be optimally staffed. Neither there will be overstaffing nor there will be understaffing. So after estimating the manpower requirements, the second step is that of recruitment. We have to understand one thing, that recruitment and selection, these are two different steps, and it means entirely, recruitment doesn't mean selection. Sometimes in the exam the students get confused. Recruitment doesn't mean appointment. Let us see, recruitment, it is a definition. Recruitment is a process. It is a process of searching for prospective employees and also stimulating the prospective employees to apply for jobs in the organization. I keep on just telling the students that it's easy to memorize the definition of recruitment. Double S, if we say, a process of searching and stimulating for prospective candidates to apply for the job. So it is a position in which we see that encouragement is given to the candidates who may be spread all around at different places when the vacancies lies in the organization, so that more and more people, they should apply for the job in the organization. So searching and stimulating, these are the two key words. And in always, recruitment is considered to be a positive process, because it is a process in which we see that the pool of prospective candidates, they are collected and they apply for the job. That is why it is always considered as a positive process. For recruitment, for searching and stimulating, there can be different sources through which recruitment can be done. There may be internal sources or there may be external sources. We will be learning in detail about the sources of recruitment, but when we are talking about this aspect, we have to understand that when we say internal, that means from within the organization, the pool of candidates, they are taken into consideration. Organization doesn't search from outside, but from within the organization, the prospective candidates are looked for, and the positions may be filled, and that position may be filled either through promotion or through transfer. So whenever we talk about internal sources, they are of two types, promotion and transfers. When we say external sources, that means from the sources which are outside the organization, the prospective candidates, they are looked for, and those sources are many. There may be direct recruitment. I told you we'll be talking in detail, because that is a separate topic about the sources of recruitment. Here we have to just understand that through these sources, we see that the recruitment process begins in the organization after estimation of manpower requirements. When we talk about external sources, there may be direct recruitment, there may be casual caller, there may be advertisements, print advertisement, then electronic advertisement, there may be web publishing, there may be employment exchanges, there may be labor contractors, there may be placement agencies and management consultant firms. So there are different external sources through which the prospective candidates may be looked after, or they may be stimulated for applying for the job which is lying vacant in the organization. And recruitment also involves some of the steps. So first step which is involved in the process of recruitment is identification of source, whether an organization is going to fill the positions from internal source or external source. We have learned, if it is internal, then will it be promotion or it will be transfer. So it has to be taken into consideration. If it is external, there are different external sources. So what are those sources which would be suitable through which the vacancies can be filled? It has to be seen. So identify first of all. Then after identification, assessing each source. I told you, once it has been identified that these are the sources through which the uh, information can be shared with the candidates to apply for the job, then each and every source has to be estimated keeping in mind its pros and cons. After that, selecting the most appropriate source. After assessing the positive and negative aspects of each and every source, it has to be selected. The organization will be finally going for which source, that is what is selection, through which it is going to invite the prospective candidates or send information to the candidates to apply for the jobs in the organization. And finally, it is after the source has been selected, informing through that selected source and persuading the prospective candidates to apply for the jobs in the organization. This is what is called recruitment. After recruitment, the third step is selection. Now, in recruitment, we have learned that always an organization tries to encourage, tries to stimulate and search for prospective candidates so that it can get the best candidate. After the recruitment process comes the selection process, where we see that out of those prospective candidates, the choice is made. So it is a process of choosing from among those who have applied. There may be many applications which might have come for a particular position which is lying vacant in the organization. It is through the process of selection that the choice or choosing from amongst those prospective candidates, the organization tries to select the best candidate. Now, there are also various steps in this selection process. Now, it depends upon the position which is lying vacant. If the position is very important in the organization, we see that the process is also very rigorous. Selection process is rigorous because selection process basically it has two purposes. First is it enhances the self-esteem and morale of the selected candidate. It is the purpose serves the employee who is selected. Once the employee goes through, once the person after applying for the job, he has to undergo through rigorous procedures of selection and he gets selected, then certainly the self-esteem of a person increases, the morale of a person becomes high, and he certainly finds the need, or you may say the importance of that particular position which he has acquired after tough screening and tough selection procedure, and that gives more dedication on his part and commitment on his part to serve the organization for the long period of time. Apart from that, it is also useful for the organization because it is through the process of selection that the organization is in a position to find out the best candidate and obtain the best candidate out of those who have applied for the job in the organization. And that is why basically we see that the selection procedure involves the following steps. First is the preliminary screening. We will be learning in detail about these steps through which the selection is done. Then comes employment test, then comes employment interview, then reference and background check, then selection decision, then medical examination, job offer and appointment letter. So these are some of the steps in the process of selection which makes the selection procedure a rigorous one. But selection is always considered as a negative process. We have to remember this because always in selection there is the rejection of candidates involved. All the rejection is involved, and that is why we see that it is considered as a negative procedure. In any process where there is rejection, in the process of recruitment, there is always encouragement. There is always getting a pool of the prospective candidates who are applying. There is no such rejection. There is always adding of the prospective candidates. So it is always considered as a positive process. In case of, you may say, selection, there is always subtraction. because there may be pool of so many candidates, but out of those pool only few are selected, others are rejected. So it is always considered as a negative process. These 1 mark questions may be asked in the exam. So first was estimating manpower requirement, second that is recruitment, third is selection. Now we are moving on to the fourth point, and the fourth point is placement and orientation. Let me rub the board and explain it to you. Fourth point involved in the process of selection. After estimation of manpower requirement has been done, recruitment procedure has been completed, and the selection has also been done of the suitable candidate in the organization. The fourth step which comes is that of placement and orientation. Now, when we say placement and orientation, we have to understand one thing. Placement is basically related with is a process of occupying a position or post in an organization. Occupying a position. Once the person has been selected for a particular post, we see that the joining process starts, and it is basically a joining process. And in this joining process, a person has to join in the organization, and once he has to join in the organization, we see that he occupies a post once he takes the joining offer, and that is what is called the placement. Once he joins, then comes the orientation. Orientation is in a way an introductory training. It is an introductory training of a person who has joined the organization. It is also called socialization or familiarization process, which is very, very important, because an employee, once he decides to join the organization and he accepts the offer, he has to be familiarized with what? Familiarization with the rules and regulations, superiors, subordinates, peers, work culture, all these things certainly an employee should know. The facilities which is there in the organization, so the day he comes to join the organization, a presentation may be provided or arranged for the person so that he can be made familiar with the place where he has to work, with the people around, with whom he has to work. It may be his superiors, it may be his subordinates, it may be his peer groups, so that he certainly takes a decision. And if he is satisfied with the work atmosphere around which he will be working, automatically we see that his stay may be long in the organization. And that is considered to be a very important process. So placement, after placement and orientation comes the next point, and that is training and development. Training and development. A person becomes an employee in the organization once he joins the organization and he starts doing the work. But a person has to be trained in order to see that he is able to perform the work in a proper manner. So training is basically related with improving knowledge and skill of a person related to the job. The work which a person has to carry out, he has to carry out efficiently, and for that he has to be trained so that he can be efficient in his work. And training provides that knowledge and skill which is required in order to carry out the work properly. So training is basically related with the job, and that is why we see that time and again in the organization arranges for training for each and every employee in the organization. Training may be for the higher level position, also for the lower level positions, also for the worker classes. So for everyone there is need for training, because training equips a person to work with better efficiency, and that is basically related with the knowledge and skill upgradation. So it is not a one time affair. Always a person needs to be trained from time to time for better performance. So apart from training, there is also need for development. When we say development, development is always associated with improving in all spheres. It may be physical, it may be technical. So a person not only joins the organization for the job, but he always plans for a better career. And in order to make a better career, there is need for overall growth of an individual. And that is why there is need for development. Development is always considered as a wider concept, because if the person develops, he improves in all spheres of his life. It may be physical, it may be technical, and that helps a person to grow and develop and equip himself for acquiring better positions in the organization or somewhere else, and that will always help a person for better career prospects. So we see that after placement and orientation, there is training and development. And training, basically there are different types. When we talk about training, there may be on the job and off the job training. On the job, that means off the job. Two types of training are there. On the job is at the workplace, and off the job is away from workplace. According to the nature of the work which the organization has, it arranges training for different levels of employees in the organization to see that an organization certainly has such kind of people who are well versed with their job and carry out their responsibilities in a proper manner. So after training and development, we see that the next point is, sixth point I am writing here, it is performance appraisal. An employee certainly, if given training, is acquiring better knowledge and skill related with the job, has to be assessed from time to time whether a person after acquiring training has improved or not. Performance appraisal is a way, is a process of assessment of employees' performance. And it involves three steps. For this, the first step which is required is that an employee should know what is expected of him. That means the standard output which he has to, what is expected, the employee should know the standard or the performance which the organization is expecting from the employee. Then only the employee will try to achieve that standard. The standards have to be set for that, for assessing the performance. Then there is evaluation of performance. Once the standards are set, each and every employee is aware about that standard, will try to achieve that standard, and then the evaluation of the performance helps to understand how far the employee has achieved that standard after training. And then the feedback, the third step is that of feedback. The employee is informed about his performance so that whatever improvements are required in whichever areas, he or she is updated from time to time